Have you ever cooked a grass-fed beef and wondered why on earth it's so tough when you can get other beef at the grocery store and it doesn't seem to be quite as tough?
I have, because I just did it 2 nights ago.
He cooked us steaks the other night that we had just picked up from the processor that we grew right here at Air to Ground Farms. And we were cooking some burgers at the same time. And y'all, he cooked them both kind of under the same method. And let's just say that the steak turned out a little tough. And I thought, oh no, what'd you think?
I thought, man, we have some not good beef.
Well, as it turns out, we got to talking about it, and it may have just been the cooking style. Now, we know how to cook steak.
And I know that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened?
I was in a hurry, so I cooked the steak just like I cooked the hamburgers over direct heat. And I know this, and I'm sure a lot of you know this, but if you put a grass-fed steak over direct heat and just cook it, the muscle fibers are going to tighten up and it's going to be tough. It tasted great,
Yeah?
but it was tough.
Beautiful flavor. And here's what I tell people when they come to Air to Ground Meats in our store in Ava. They'll buy a nice piece of beef, and I will tell them, do not go home and cook this really fast. And it's because the muscle fibers are going to just cinch up on you. Don't you dare go home and cook this real fast and come back and tell me my meat that I sold you was tough, because you're going to have to be real nice to it. I preach this to people, and then we messed up.
So another reminder.
Yeah, here we are, another reminder. So what we want to do today is go through how to properly cook a grass-fed steak and why this works the best.
So I know that this is going to work because I tried it last night.
We had steak 2 nights in a row, if you will, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to start with is 2 Air to Ground Farms New York strips.
These are grass-fed steaks. They're about a half a pound each, just under 8 ounces. So one of the key things for it is bring it up to temperature slowly, and then we'll sear it. So that's what you can expect for us. What we've got is the steaks are sitting right out here. The oven is already preheated to 225 degrees.
All right. Let me go open these up, get them on a plate, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. While Shelly's doing that, I'll talk to you about a butter that we're going to throw together to have with the steak. So while the steaks are in the oven, we're going to make a garlic butter that we will use to put on top of the steak and turn this delicious steak meal into a ketogenic steak meal.
One thing that you're going to notice about these steaks is I like to rinse them off and then give them a nice pat dry. So I'll pat them dry. We have these done about 1.5 inches thick so that it's a nice chunk of meat to cook. Okay. And then all I like to use on our beef is just some salt and pepper. So I'm going to kosher salt pretty liberally. I enjoy a nice little salt crunch on our steaks. And this is one of the only places that we get salt is when we add it to our food, because we don't eat any processed foods with it added to it. All right. Now while I'm doing this, let me talk about the color and the fat content of these steaks.
Okay. So you'll notice that it's a very dark, deep dark red, and that has to do with the fact that it's grass-fed. And one of the things about a grass-fed beef in general, steaks specifically, is the cows walk around a lot more. So the muscles are actually used more, the fibers are a little bit tighter, and they have less fat in between the fibers. So that's one of the reasons why a grass-fed steak tightens up as tight as it does, is because it just doesn't have as much fat in there. So the muscle fibers actually transfer the heat faster. So you can end up cooking these things faster than you would a normal, I'll say normal grain-fed steak. The other thing is it is higher in omega-3 fatty acids than a grain-fed steak, which is higher in omega-6. And there are some issues with omega-6, cause inflammations. It's found in your seed oils. Omega-3s don't do that. And also with the omega-3s, they melt a little bit faster. So the temperature at which they melt is lower. So you can actually, there's like a few different things that combine to make a grass-fed steak actually cook faster and actually have the muscle fibers tighten up. So that's the reason why we want to bring it to a temperature very slowly. So we're going to use a 225 degree oven. We're going to put it on this rack, and then we're going to bring the steak to an internal temperature of 125 degrees. So we're starting these steaks at room temperature, and we're going to take them up to 125 degrees. At 125, the steaks are still rare, and they're going to look not a whole lot different than what they do right now. When it gets to 125, then we're going to take them out of the oven and sear them in a cast iron skillet with some oil in the skillet. We're probably going to use grass-fed ghee as our oil in the skillet. You can also use lard or tallow. Like, there are some high heat oils that you can use that work great for this. So 125 in an internal temperature in a 225 degree oven, and then we will sear them.
Another thing you can do, if you have a well-seasoned cast iron skillet and you want to have a nice crust, you don't have to put any oil in there. You can put that baby on there dry and it'll just and sear it real nice. But since we're keto, we definitely want to make sure that we can get our fats up anywhere that we can. So we're going to use oil on this one. But I do like I do love a dry skillet.
Yeah.
Okay, let's put these in the oven. Hey, real quick, are you interested in the topics of food, freedom, and farming? If so, make sure to check out our podcast.
I'll leave a link in the description below to the Duster Mud podcast channel where we talk about just those things.
And we'll see you over there. Okay. I don't know how long those are going to take. We'll just check on them. What you going to do now?
So our grass-fed steak has about 45 grams of protein, but only around 14 grams of fat. And we need that to be about 75 grams of fat to get it up to the percentages that we want for a keto meal. So what we've done is I've got some softened butter. I'm going to make a butter that we'll put on top of the steak, and we'll add a side salad with some olive oil. And between that, we're going to bring our fats up to make this a ketogenic meal.
If you're new here, we eat a ketogenic diet. We have for years. We stopped eating sugar and grain and the ultra-processed foods back in 2019 and adopted a lifestyle that actually led us to this farm and growing the food that we grow.
Right.
And that butter right there actually comes from one of our dairy cows. And so this lifestyle really does help boost what?
Raw milk, grass-fed, homemade
butter. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Cool. We did. Yeah, we like that. That's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
All right. So it's going to be like more like a spread, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm going to use about 8 tablespoons of butter to get this going, and it's softened as we talked about. So we're going to use a full teaspoon of minced garlic. You could use a couple cloves of fresh garlic if you wanted. We don't have that right now, so we're just going to use a teaspoon of minced, a splash of lemon juice, and then a 1/4 teaspoon each of salt and pepper.
Really basic.
Yeah, so a splash.
That's splash. You're good.
There's a splash.
Perfect. Although I love that. Gotcha. How much?
I said a 1/4, but it should be about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper.
Okay. But we don't actually measure things. But we will put the recipe in the description.
There we
We
go.
just aren't big measurers. Okay.
I did measure the garlic though, because I didn't want to get carried away with the garlic.
Ooh. It'd be like,
So now I'm just gonna mix this together. What
cool.
do you think?
Looks good. Now what? Let it sit.
That's it.
Would you put it into the refrigerator if you were waiting, or just
Yeah.
leave it out?
Well, I think I would put it in the fridge so that it would stick together well on our bites of steak.
Mm.
I mean, it's going to melt some,
Yeah.
but I also want it to hold together so that I know I'm getting it on the steak.
Okay. All right. So after that, the next thing we need to do is check the temperature on our steaks. They've been in for a few minutes now, and just see where we are so that we can gauge how much longer it's going to need. A handy dandy tool that we like to use is just a digital meat thermometer. You can pick these up at Amazon. They're really quite inexpensive. Maybe I can get him to put them in our Amazon store so you can find it really well. So I'm going to go over here and we're just going to stick it in and see what the temperature is. Not even close. Still room temperature. All right, let's check. It's been about a half an hour, actually. I think we're getting close. I may call that good, because it's going to keep coming up. Let's check this one. Oh, yeah. Okay, they got to come out. Now, at this stage in the game, these things are not very pretty. They just look like they kind of have been heated up a little bit, and they just don't look great.
That's true.
So now what we're going to do is
we're going to sear them in a cast iron skillet. So I've been getting the cast iron skillet warm. I'm got it on 5 right now, which is a medium heat. I'm going to add some grass-fed ghee to the pan, and then we're going to sear these steaks. And searing it, we're talking like 30 seconds on each side. So it is a fast, really just trying to add some color to it and get a crisp going on the outer edge of it. So you can see the skillet is already hot. The ghee started dancing as soon as I put it in, and here comes the sear.
cooking it like this. One thing to remember is you're not going to have the grill flavor. You're not going to have the smoke flavor, but you can achieve this type of tenderness and style of cooking if you cook it on your Weber or your grill with offset, away from your heat.
Now you're starting to see what looks like a nice steak. It's been about 30 seconds on both sides. I'll check each side. Yes, that looks great. This one, that also looks great. Off the heat they come. Seared on both sides. I'm now going to let them sit and rest for just a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes or less. Okay, here comes a couple of steaks. Look at that.
Beautiful.
All right. Now we certainly can't let this nice ghee go to waste.
Mm-mm.
There we go. All right, shall we cut into it before we add the butter? See what it looks
Sure.
like?
Yeah.
Let everybody see how it looks.
Nice.
So what you have,
medium rare.
yeah, medium rare, and you have the nice pink in the middle. but yet you don't have a big gray line on the edges. So everything comes to temperature, and then you get a sear just on that outside edge. And so you don't have the gray part that you normally get when you just cook straight. What do you
Good
think?
job, honey.
All right.
Better.
Very good. Okay.
The flavor is so beefy. A lot of people think that there's going to be like a wang, a gaminess to grass-fed beef. I do not find that so.
Okay.
That's a lot of butter. Is this the assignment?
Here we go.
No. So at the first of the year, I decided, let's go real strong keto, really get our fats up, and stop eating so many like sneaky carbs, yogurt and milk and things like that from our cow. And since doing that, really have noticed a lot of my mental clarity is back, my energy is back, my hunger levels are way down. So getting our fats up was really worked out for me.
Let's see.
I know. It's really good beef.
That is amazing.
It is amazing.
Really tender, cooked perfectly,
Yep.
medium rare. If you don't like your steak medium rare, if you like it more done, you're going to have a hard time with grass-fed beef. The longer you cook it, the tougher it's going to get. One thing you can try is basting it with some butter or ghee during the cooking process. But this medium rare, about 130 to 135 degrees, that's going to be perfect for your grass-fed beef.
Another way of cooking it, if you have the tools, would be to do a sous vide style, especially if you want to get up to a higher temperature. You could do that. It comes up very slowly where it's vacuum sealed in water in a particular temperature. You can Google it if you don't know what it is.
A lot of people use sous vide. It's a great way of bringing that meat slowly up to temperature.
Yeah, so maybe try that also. But what you are going to get from grass-fed beef is all of the nutrients that you're looking for whenever you buy beef. It's not cheap. But it gives you so much nutrition that it's worth the value in paying the dollars to get all of the nutrition. So you want to make sure that you're getting the best nutrition possible with all of your dollars.
True.
So we also have some salad. We've poured some olive oil on it. We have our sparkling water. Our daughter got us a new soda stream. So I'm happy in soda stream world. Thank you guys for mentioning that. And now we're just going to go eat our meal.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Very good.
Thank you guys for hanging out with us again. And if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit subscribe and hit the thumbs up. It really does help other people know that this was a fun video.
That's right.
Yeah?
Yes.
Until next time, bye y'all.
Bye, y'all.